Good. I think we are good. Hi everyone. Sorry for the delay. The time got away from me, but I am here. I am in here, and I am ready. If I can get this glare, got a little glare going on. Let me see if I can fix that. Okay. Well, we're just gonna have to deal with the glare that's going on here. Nevertheless, we are here, and guess what we're talking about today? We are talking about choices. We are talking about life's choices. Well, we're just gonna have to deal with the glare that's going on here. Nevertheless, we are here, and guess what we're talking about today? We are talking about choices. We are talking about life's choices. We're just gonna have to deal with the glare that's going on here. Nevertheless, we are here, and guess what we're talking about today? Can you guys hear me? Okay, I think we're good. I think we're good. If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up, drop a comment. I think we had something playing in the background that was causing me. Oh, thank you for that. I am getting some help, guys. Can you guys hear me? It's happening again. Let's play back. I think we're good. If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up, drop a comment. All right, good. Thank you. All right, today we are talking about choices, navigating life's crossroads. Ooh, how many of us are faced with choices on a day-to-day basis, sometimes round the clock, you name it. Living life in general, you're going to be faced with choices. Even, children, when they're able to, come into their own personality and mindset, they're going to be faced with choices, too, at school, hanging around, friends, whatever the case may be. Choices, 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 choices. That's what we're talking about today. Navigating life in its choices, is hills and mountains of choices. But how you make your choices, how you respond to your choices, you're gonna find that it molds you. It molds you into the person that you're gonna be. It is part of your experiences, and we all know that our experiences shapes who we are, shapes our reality. And hello, Jay Kelly, come on. Okay, I don't want to pronounce your name wrong, but hello, welcome to the show. We're just getting started, had a bit of a delay, had some technical issues going on, but we are here today, straight up with Deborah Walter, every Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern. If you are new to the podcast, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification button so you'll be notified when I go live. Sometimes, the shows are live. Sometimes, I get requests to do playbacks. And so you may see that going on as well. But today, what are we talking about today? Choices, navigating life's crossroads. And one of the things that I like to try to, as far as curving or carving out, shaping this conversation, just understanding that choices, none of us escape choices, no matter what age we are, no matter our demographic, no matter our demographic, which is your gender, your ethnicity, wherever part of the world you're from, your financial standing. We are all faced with life choices, and guess what? You can't stand still. You can't be frozen. You have got to make a choice. As someone like to say, is it piss or get off the pot? It's something that goes, it's a little saying that goes, but it pretty much says, make a choice, make a decision, make up your mind, do something. Don't just sit there. Just don't sit there. Life doesn't happen on its own. You have got to, move in action. You have got to be, active in your life. And being active in your life it means making choices. And the thing is, we want to make the right choice. Well, I'm not gonna even say the right choices. Like I said, I don't believe in If you ever been on my show, I talk about karma. I don't like to say good karma, bad karma. It's just consequences, right? That's another part of this conversation today. The other part of choices, because in making your choices, there are consequences for every choice that you make. For every action, there's a reaction, right? Cause and effect, the yin and the yang. Talk about all that good stuff here on this show, but today we're going to focus on choices in your life and making the best choice for the ultimate outcome, the best outcome for yourself. You're not going to always get it right, and that's okay, because on Straight Up with Deborah Walter show, we understand that everything is about evolution and growth and experiencing, so you can learn and to make different choices in your life, right? So we all make choices in our lives, both knowingly and unknowingly. So what do you mean by unknowingly? Well, when I say unknowingly made choices, even your non-action, it's an action. Even you not making a choice, you're making a choice to not make a choice, right? And even in doing that, it has an impact on your life. So not staying still, being active, and not being complacent and not allowing the mounds of choices to paralyze you. We're going to talk about that too. So from simple decisions like what do I eat today? What do I make for dinner? What outfit do I put on for work? How do I want to wear my hair today? Choice of lipstick, makeup, if you're into that. Uh, I need a new vehicle. What type of vehicle do I buy? Well, it starts, okay, how much money do you have? Are you paying for your car straight out? See, you see how I'm adding in these variables, the things that feeds into or should feed into you making decisions in your life. Don't take them for granted, because the bigger the decision that you make, the more variables and things that should come in question, so you can make a proper or better, the best decision or choice, right? So if you take purchasing a car, for instance, what type of car do I buy? Well, what type of car do you want? And the type of car that you want, does it add what type of how is your financial standing when it comes to purchasing another vehicle? Does the amount of finances that you have support you being able to buy the car of your choice or the car that you want, right? Do you have, if you're not, are you going to pay for it outright? That's a determining factor. All these things that I'm naming, or the questions that I'm, posing, are determining factors into your choices. And into this particular scenario is a determining factor into the type of car that you want to buy. So if you're not going to purchase the car outright, then maybe you have a little bit more room to buy something more that's suiting to your liking or choice, right? What you want. What about your credit? If you're not going to purchase it outright, then you're going to be looking for a lender, right? Someone to help you finance that vehicle, that choice of vehicle. And so how's your credit? How's your credit to allow you to get, the better the credit, the better your financial health, then the more the lender is willing to extend you credit. So these are just things that I'm using in this scenario about choices, the choices that we make. And so even if you have the financial standing to buy the vehicle that you want, are we just focusing on looks, how it looks versus quality? See there? You see what I'm saying? So as we unravel this topic today, for those who have just joined, we are talking about choices and unraveling the layers, and to help, to better help guide us into making not the right choice, but the best choice based on current circumstances and situations. Like I said at the start of the show, we are all faced with choices. And to me, the older you get, the more complex those choices can become, versus someone who's a child, who may be faced with, I don't know, do I go to bed by the time my mom or dad tell me to go to bed? And if I don't, what is the consequence of not doing it? So you kind of see where I'm going when we're talking about choices and consequences, right? And so, so the heavier ones, like I said, the heavier choices, tend to, in my opinion, they should be taken into consideration slowly, very carefully, because the bigger the choice or the decision to be made, it could have a greater impact on or consequence in you making that decision. Choices, decisions, consequences have varying degrees of impact in your life. It depends on what it is. For example, let's say I'm trying to decide on what I want to eat today. Do I eat baked chicken, or do I just choose to eat a salad? Well, either way, it doesn't matter. If I choose the salad or the chicken, it's not going to have a huge impact or consequence on me choosing one or the other. It's a meal, right? Now, you may say, well, Deborah, roll back, roll back. Let's say I'm someone who may not be so healthy. I may be dealing with some comorbidities. So what I eat can be impactful. Absolutely. And if you call me out on that, good for you. That means you're paying attention and you're listening and you're following what I'm saying when it comes to choices and decisions. There are always factors, variables, questions to be asked of yourself before you make the decision, right? Absolutely. So that's what we're talking about. And so we're going to dig into some questions and, have an even more in-depth conversation about this topic today. And if you have been faced recently, and maybe even not so recently, but in the climate of the world today, I'm pretty sure we have all been faced with, a very impactful decision or choice that needs to be made. But if you have and you would like to share, please drop it in the comment section so we can have that, that conversation to try to, just from sharing, from a point of sharing, so we can understand, what choice did you make? What impact did it have on your life? And it'll be great to kind of jump into that. So, question number 1: how do you think the choices we make every day shape our future and who we become as individuals? So I kind of started down that path, right? Let's pick a favorite. I'm gonna pick a favorite, one that never ceases to bring commentary, one that never ceases to impact any and everybody, except for very, very small humans, right? Relationships. And I want to dive into that on the romantic side of relationships, and then, let's focus some more so on like the friendship side of relationships. Let's say you decide, let's say you're sitting, you're out with one of your girls, you're having a nice lunch at your favorite restaurant, and you're just sitting there and you're just talking and enjoying each other's company. And then in walks a couple of guys, right? Or girls, depending on whatever you're into, but let's just use heterosexual relationships in this conversation. Okay? So in walks the guy, and one of them immediately notices you and you notice them. So I'm setting the stage for the beginnings of a romantic relationship, right? And so, before guys leave the restaurant, you eventually hold a conversation, you pass each other's phone numbers or whatever, Facebook link, whatever the case may be, a way for you guys to continue to communicate. All right, as time goes on, you guys are getting to know each other better. You're having conversations over the phone. You've even had your first date at this point. You are digging this person. You're into them, and you're kind of excited about it. Okay, and then you guys finally finalize your standing in the relationship. Okay, you're gonna call yourselves a duo. You're gonna, you're dating. You're exclusive. And then, fast forward for, okay, you start to hear little things, right? From maybe some close circles or people that may know both of you, but you're into this person and you're hearing him, but you're like, no, he just doesn't seem to be that type of person. I don't believe he's so nice, he's so kind, he's so good to me. So you kind of mute the noise, you kind of mute what people are coming back and telling you about this person, right? And then you propel yourself into a marriage. And then over time, some of those things unfold. If you're following me, I done built the ground of the beginnings of a romantic relationship. Now we're fast forward and we're into a marriage. All disregarding the red flags or the feedback that we may have been received from some of our friends or whatever the case may be. This person, and you're starting to see some of these things unfold that people were telling you about this person, and now he's not so kind. And now it's turning, you're receiving the verbal abuse. They told you about that, but you ignored it. Choices, decisions. So let's roll back a little bit. What if you would have made the choice to listen to the people that were telling you about this person, to pay attention to the red flags, but instead you were so caught up, you were so excited about this new relationship, you kind of blocked all that information out. And so you move forward into a marriage. But you kind of locked in now, right? You done married this person. But what if you have made the choice, the decision to pay attention to those things, slow the relationship down so you can kind of, see, what they're saying, if there's any validity to what they're saying. What if you had made that choice, that the decision to do that, and then all of a sudden, before you moved into something more serious like a marriage, you got an opportunity to see those things unfold. And then you kind of pull back and you cut it off. I'm going to leave it there. Then you cut it off. So you kind of see where I'm going when it comes to, when I say making choices, making decisions, about considering every variable, taking no piece of information for granted. Because something as serious as a marriage, you don't want to end in a situation to where you get into one of those marriages or relationships that end up being verbally abusive, physically abusive, mentally abusive. It's a lot that it could cause you could avoid a huge amount of trauma and turmoil. So depending on how serious the choice is, the decision that you need to make in your life, take the time that you need. Even if it's a decision where you may not have a lot of knowledge on the topic, take the time that you need to become a learned person in that space, in that knowledge area. It doesn't, you're in control. You're in the driver's seat. It's all up to you. It's up to you to make the choices and the decisions in your life. And so arm yourself with the necessary tools and knowledge to be able to make an informed decision. Now, you may recall at the very beginning of the topic of the conversation, I said, make the best decision or choice. I'm going to add on to that and say, in order to make the best decision or choice, it needs to be an informed one. Never go into making a decision about something as important as changing a job, saying I do to someone, buying a house, buying a car, relocating or whatever the case may be, making an investment. May your decisions, your choices be one that is informed. You have the knowledge. Excuse me, I keep getting these pop up. You have the knowledge. You have been armed with the knowledge to make an informed and sound decision. And so let's say, well, okay, Deborah, I've done all that. I've studied. I've done my research. I've talked to people who may have experienced or been in a place in their lives where they had to make the same or similar decision, and it still did not go the way that I wanted it to. It still ended up have somewhat of a negative impact. Well, guess what? But at least you went into the door. You went into that decision or that choice being informed about what you're going to make a decision or choice about. Because guess what? When I say make the best decision, let's say you did not go into that decision-making process with all the necessary information that you could. So you probably would have ended up in an even worse situation. You see where I'm going with this? So no regrets on that. Never have any regrets, even though something may not turn out the way that you wanted to. Never have any regrets because you have done the homework. You have studied, you've, researched, and you've asked questions. You've considered just about every variable that you could have. Never doubt yourself. That just means that you have experienced that thing now, and you know if you're faced with a similar decision or choice in your life in the future, you know what to do and you know what not to do. Or you know to maybe, move things or do things a little bit differently. You see where I'm going? It doesn't, and so choices leads to consequences, and there's depending on the size of the choice or the decision to be made, it's important to be prepared, right? And at the end of the day, even if you say, well, I made a poor decision, it's still a learning experience. It's something that you can learn and grab from. And like I said, if you you're faced with something like that similar in the future, or maybe a family member or a friend may come to you with something similar, you be like, well, guess what? I was faced with that about 2-3 months ago. This is what I did, and this is what I recommend you do. So it's always a benefit. It's always a benefit. So it does shape who we are as individuals, because if it's a huge decision and you did not prepare yourself for it, the greater the consequence, the greater the negative impact. And guess what is going to happen? If you're not, if you're an individual who may really take it hard when something doesn't go your way or when you fail at something, guess what? It's going to cause you to withdraw. And when the next time you're faced with a decision or a choice to make in your life, it may even paralyze you to where you feel like you can't do, I just can't make this decision. I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm afraid of the outcome. I'm afraid what is going to happen. But guess what? Like I said at the beginning of this conversation, of this discussion, even no decision is a decision. An outcome is going to happen regardless. I'm going to use paying your rent as an example. If you so choose to not make your rent payment, which is a non-action, guess what's going to happen? You're going to get hit with late fees on top of what you owe, and then depending on the state laws in your state, you'll end up getting evicted. Then what happens after eviction? They even report that stuff on your credit report, and they just go on. It just causes a domino effect that you just don't want to have to deal with it. And I get it. And I'm going to add on to this conversation. I get it. Things happen, Deborah. In the financial climate of the world today, a lot of people are struggling financially, finding it hard to make the rent. I get it. And in those situations, those scenarios, it's not, you can prepare as much as you can. And things just come out, from the left, and just, throw your savings, you burn through all your savings, and it just feels like you're not in control. I get those situations and scenarios, but even in those situations and scenarios, there's an answer. There is a solution. And that's why it's so important to be vigilant, and instead of getting paralyzed with fear and anxiety and making a decision or a choice in your life, you just go into work mode, just go into your analytical mode and say, and I guarantee there's an answer, there's a solution for every scenario, for every choice that you need to make. It just takes time, it takes preparation, it takes some due diligence on your side. Say it with me, due diligence. Due diligence will put you in a better position to make sound decisions. So even when you're in your downward state, when you're in a bind that impacts you financially, where you can't make a decision to pay a bill because you don't have it, there's still a solution to it. And it may be painful, it may hurt, may cause a little churn, but guess what? Not making a decision, not doing anything, just sitting on it, just letting things fester is not the answer either. Use your resources. I'm pretty sure you're a good person and you like to help people, whatever. You probably got some stored up favors that people, that you can cash in on. In other words, talking about finances, that you can cash in on, right? There's always a solution. So I'm gonna let that settle there. And there's something interesting. I'm gonna take a pause before I go to the next question, if you don't mind. Because I'm a research person. I like to go out there and see what other people are thinking about different topics and situations, scenarios. And there is one story by Ritu. And if you just bear with me, we'll get back to the questions and all the good stuff. And the topic, the title by Ritu was Choices Matter. And I'm gonna give you an example. I want to share it with you. We all make choices in our lives every day, both knowingly and unknowingly. For simple decisions like what to eat for dinner, as I was saying, what to wear to work, to the heavier ones about who to be friends with and whether to change jobs. There's a truth that we must all embrace. Everyone has the power of choice. And in this situation where Ritu was talking about in her story, Ritu used to be someone that clocked in, that worked for somebody else. She was an employee of an employer. And she had this dream to be an entrepreneur. She wanted to run her own company. But what Ritu did not know is all the work, all the demand on her time that it was going to take for her to run her business. She started getting bogged down with her client demands, meetings, dealing with the finances of it all. Whereas, if you work for an employer, you're not bothered with all that. You're not. All you know is I clock in, I do my job, I go home, I get my paycheck every week, every other week, once a month, whatever the case may be. If I want to take off, I got, if you're in one of those situations, jobs that have benefits like PTO, paid time off, or sick time, I don't have to get, my check is not going to be dinged or docked because I can use my PTO or sick time or whatever. And life just keep on lifing. Unless now, corporations, companies, they do go through layoffs. They do go through acquisitions and all that stuff. But nevertheless, a company that's in a good, healthy standing, and as long as you're doing your job, you're going to have a paycheck coming. But in Ritu's situation, she went from being an employee to being an entrepreneur, and she was responsible for keeping the lights on at her job. She had to adhere to her client demands because the clients are the ones that pay, that pay her to help her keep, to keep the lights on. And sometimes, depending on what field or industry you're in, that can be a 24/7 job. She did not know that. So it was a demand on her time, which eventually stressed her out, started having a mental impact on her. And so she started having doubts about the choice that she made to leave her job and to start her own business. And she was just saying, maybe I shouldn't have done this. I didn't realize it was going to be all this work. Maybe I should just let it all go and just go back to my 9 to 5. And then she realized, she started saying, well, hey, Ritu, you made this choice. You made this decision. Whether you was armed with the knowledge or not, and what it took to run a business and to keep the lights on, you made this decision. Now, the easy thing to do is to run. Let it all fall to the wayside and go back to being in a 9 to 5. These are the conversations and things that she was having with herself. And to be honest, these are the same things that pop up in our heads when we're faced with whatever choice or decision. And 9 times out of 10, I believe this, we tend to lean to the choice or the decision that's going to be less impactful to us. That's the easier way out, the easiest way out. But that's not always the best answer. And guess what? If you follow me or listen to some of my past podcasts on Straight Up with Deborah Walter, I believe we are here to learn, and our experiences are here to teach us. And so you shy away from something, guess what? It's coming back around. It maybe come back in a different form or fashion or through a different person or individual. It's coming back around until you face it. So you just have to face it, even when it gets tough, when it gets rough, when the going gets rough, tough it out. Tough it out. So that's what Ritu did. She said, you know what I did? I made this decision. And this is something that I love to do, and I've been doing it for 10 years. I love to do it. So what are some things? She went into solution mode. As I was saying, when it comes to choices and decisions, or even tackling problems, which is part of the choice decision making, Go into solution mode. There's always an answer. There's always an answer. And that's what she did. Time management was part of her solution. You know, hiring some extra help, like an administrative assistant to handle, you know, scheduling her calls, managing her, you know, her calendar, you know, even doing some front facing with her clients, you know, and so she went into solution mode. And so instead of running back to her 9 to 5, she hunkered down and she kept with her business. She kept going and it got better for her. So let's apply Ritu's choice matter life sharing experience to when we're faced with choices in life. Do we just, you know, do we fold? Do we crumble at the face of stress and anxiety when we're faced with tough decisions? Or do we face it head on? I'm going to say face it head on. Because life is about experiences and is about choices. And as question number 1 says, does it mold us and impact who we are? Absolutely it does. You're going to be that same person with that facing that choice or the decision in your life. If you choose to do nothing, which is, like I said, an action within itself, you're going to be that same person. You're not going to grow. You're not going to evolve. You're going to be stuck right there. And you're going to be that same person until you decide to face that problem or that decision, that choice in your life, until you conquer it and move on to the next one. And you're going to get better at it. You're going to get better at making your choices. You're going to be better at your decision because your arsenal has grown. Okay. That was a tough one. But I did what I needed to do. I understood. I dissected that thing. I analyzed that choice. I became informed and aware. I dug in, did some research. I questioned, you know, asked some help from my resources, my team of people. So the next time that I'm faced with something like that, which you probably won't be because you're going to move on to something else, you graduated from that choice. You graduated from that decision. So you put that tool, you added that skill set into your arsenal, right? You evolved at that point. Believe it or not, even it can be the most subtlest of ways, you evolved. You added on to who you are as a person, as an individual. So I just wanted to share Ritu's story because it's a beautiful one in explaining the choices and how we, you know, should attack, you know, the choices and problems in our lives. Now, I gave the example of the marriage, you know, the relationship that developed into a marriage, and that was a romantic one, listening to advice of others before you jump into anything. It's the same thing with friendships, you know. Let's say you have a friend, someone you grew up with from your childhood, very vested in this person. You guys, you know, you do not see one without the other, and then one of you guys betrayed the other. Now, do I forgive this person? Do I move on past it? Can I trust this person again? Should I open myself up to trust this person again? Is it one of those situations? Okay, excuse me. We all make mistakes. Is it one of those situations? And that person never do it again? It's a choice to make. It's a choice to make. Do you? Do you keep someone who's betrayed you as a friend? Do you continue to let them to be a part of your life? Or do you not forgive them and you move on? I don't know. It depends. There's a lot of that going on in the world today. It's a lot of that going on. People unfriending people, blocking them, not talking to them anymore, cutting them off. There's a lot of that. But I think I'm chuckling, but it's an important decision. When you're talking about the people that you have in your life and whether to keep them in your life or not, it can be hurtful. It can be painful to be betrayed. To be betrayed by someone, it is. It's never nothing to be taken lightly because even in their moment of choice and a decision to betray you, it became a part of their character, or it was something that was always there, and it was a choice that they made. And regardless of why they made the choice, it was a choice that they made, and it ended up hurting you, betraying you, someone who's been a good friend to them. So, but they've been a good friend to you too now in this situation. They've been a good friend to you too. You know, when you needed help with your light bill. They came through for you when you need someone to babysit your kids at the last minute. They came through for you. They showed up for funerals and whatever. They were there for you too, but something happened. Something happened that led them to betray you. So I would say in that scenario where you guys have pretty much been neck to neck, good friends with each other and, supporting each other, maybe it was just a one-time mistake. And maybe it is worth having that conversation with that friend versus just throwing the relationship away and asking, what happened? And, if you understood it, emotions aside for a minute. I'm not saying overlook your emotions because your feelings are yours to have. And if they were hurt, indeed they were. Have that conversation. And maybe you can come and consider all the facts, all the variables, ask all the questions. At this point, it's just everything out on the table. Nothing to be left unturned. Ask all the questions because this is important. This is someone who's important to you in your life. Y'all grew up since kids. You don't want to just throw away a 20, 25-year friendship because of this betrayal. Let's understand if it was just a one-time mistake. Only way you're going to get to that conclusion, you got to ask the questions and ask the hard questions. I know it's difficult. And a lot of times when you're one of those caring, sensitive person, you always try to protect other person's feelings or whatever other than your own. But in this situation, protect your own and ask the hard questions. Why did you do that to me? Let them know from your raw feelings how it hurt you. And then in that situation, after the end, the conclusion could be y'all can overlook. You can't forgive, not overlook, but you can forgive. And you can start to rebuild your friendship. But in that situation scenario, you both are building character. Because through that experience is teaching you about integrity. It's teaching you what it means to betray someone and how it impacts them, how it hurts them, how it nips away at the core, the very foundation of what made you guys friends for so long. It's teaching you something, guys. I'm telling you, your choices and the decisions you make, be it good or bad, it shapes and molds who you are. And like I've said on this podcast before, none of us have ever been presented with every scenario that life has to offer to where you can say without a shadow of a doubt, you absolutely most certainly would not do something. You can't say that. You've never been presented. And I'm here to tell you, universe is the best teacher. When they say never, never say never. Because none of us have ever been presented with every scenario in life to where you can definitively say you won't do something, or you won't react in a certain way, or you won't say something. You just have not. So it's important to understand that life teaches us lessons and our experiences mean something. We need to sit back instead of just running towards life with the blinders on, nonstop, like you in a program, which I believe we're in a simulation anyway. But just pause and slow down and think about every action and reaction in your life and how it has shaped and molded you as an individual and as a person. And if you don't like what you see, guess what? We talking about choices here today on the Straight Up with Deborah Walter podcast. If you don't like the situation that you're in, choices. It's up to you. It's up to you to change your circumstance, to change your situation. It may take making some tough decisions. It may take, some pain, some strain, some irritations, some things that's just not going to feel well. But if it's your goal is to get to the other side from where you are to somewhere where you want to be, it means making those tough decisions. Everything is not going to feel good. Every choice you make is not going to feel good. Because why? It's all about the experience. It's all about the experience. And we all know it's at the moments of the toughest times that truly determines our character and shape our character based on decisions that we make. If life is going good for you, it's going well, everything, oh, my bills is paid, I'm driving in my nice car to car, I'm living in the house, my forever home, and the kids doing good, and yada, yada, yada. If you in that scenario, how are you going to be compelled to disrupt that? Are you going to be motivated, energized to do more, to push yourself, to continue to push yourself? Probably not. Probably not. Now, you have those overachievers who just are not satisfied with the status quo. They just want to keep going and going. We're not talking about those people. We're talking about someone who's not happy with their current situation. They want to change it. You are in the driver's seat. It is up to you. It is up to you. And just wanted to share, take a pause for a minute because I know that was a lot. I am on TikTok. I do my little thing on TikTok as well. My posts, my positive posts, and just get on there sometimes, do videos, and just about anything on day-to-day life. I throw some little stuff out there, throw little jewels out there, put my little sayings out there, and it's the same. I have the same handle on TikTok, Straight Up with Deborah Walter. And what you would see, how TikTok has the little bubble for your thought for today. I like to do that as well. And sometimes they're one worders, two worders, or whatever. And today, if you go out there, I say the 2 C's, choices and consequences, because they go hand in hand. You're not going to make a choice without there being a consequence. Consequences not always mean something bad. It can be a good consequence. Consequence is the same thing as outcome. Could be a bad outcome, could be a good outcome. But when it comes to choices, it's up to you. And don't let nobody else tell you different. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't do something XYZ without them. Yes, you can. In the world, we live in a multiverse of infinite possibilities. Choices, again. Possibilities, choices. We live in a multiverse with infinite possibilities. And it's up to you to choose one. Choose. Make a choice. Don't get stagnant. All right, we're going to go to question number 2. Question number 2. Can you think of a time when a small choice had a big impact on your life? What does this tell you about the power of choices? Well, it could be something that may have looked small on the outside. It could have been something that looked small on the outside. And let's see. Give me an example. If you guys got an example out there you can share with me, please do it. Please go ahead on and share, because I would, like to hear your feedback too. My apologies. I would like to give your feedback as well. But a small choice that turned out to be something huge. To me, I think I would say in that question, the choice was always huge, was always big. Maybe whoever presented the choice or the situation to you where you had to make a decision, they were manipulative. They did not unveil everything. Let's say a partnership. Hey friend, these Airbnbs are popping off. I'm hearing that people making money, and there's a house in our old neighborhood that we can get for a little bit of nothing. We can fix it up, and we can, go into it together and open up an Airbnb. We get it for like, 10,000. And I've already gone in there, and there's not a whole lot of work we need to do. But here's the thing. They are only asking you for the upfront cost to purchase that home, to start the Airbnb, but they already know. They already know that the plumbing is messed up, the electricity messed up, the roof needs to be redone, but you can't tell the roof needs to be redone just by standing on the outside. But this person already know all that, and they don't want to scare you away from going into this investment, because they know, you're going to be like, oh, that's just too much. That's too much work that has to be done. So I would say, in that question, something small that ended up being big, it was presented in this scenario small, but guess what? It was always big. It was just some manipulation there. Some things were not revealed that should have been revealed before that person made a decision. So that's what I'm going to say. I don't think there's ever a small choice that end up being something big and impactful, because it's all about variables, factors. Do you know all the variables? Do you know all the facts? And if you don't, maybe that's the reason that small decision, something that you thought was going to be small, ended up blowing up to being something big, because you didn't have all the facts. So, I think there's always balance. If it's small On the way ends of big, variables are left out, factors are left out, or things are added to it to make it complex, to make it big. That's my answer to question number 2. All right. In what ways can understanding the power of choices help you make better decisions in difficult situations? Just said it, and I said it throughout this podcast. Be armed with knowledge. Be aware. Be well informed. Ask questions. Consider every variable, every scenario if you can before you make a decision. More so if it's something that's going to be huge and very impactful to your life. That's what I'm going to say to that. And just to add a little bit more tidbit about choices, about empowerment and control. The act of choosing makes people feel more in control and independent. Yes, it does, fostering a sense of agency, meaning that, like I was saying, a person telling you can't move on without them, you're nothing without them, yada, yada, yada. You can't, make this move or decision without them. That's stripping away your power. If you allow that person and you believe that mindset, you're giving that person your control and making choices versus you being in control and making choices. So knowing that there are choices in your life and it's up to you, it's empowering. It is. It's empowering. Self-determination, the freedom to choose, allows individuals to shape their lives and align their choices with their values and their desires. Knowing that you had input into this decision that's impactful to your life is empowering. It is. It makes you feel independent. And you're going to make the best decision for yourself versus someone else, right? I would hope so. I would think so. Question number 3. In what ways can understanding the power of choices help us make better choices? Okay, in difficult situations. Understanding the power of choices. I'm going to say that word again. The power of choices. The power of choices. It's powerful to have choices. It's beautiful to have choices versus, being enslaved and someone telling you every day what you can and cannot do. And versus you getting up every day and making a decision on what you can and can't and won't do. Not can't do, but won't do. All right. It's motivational. And it helps your well-being, your overall well-being, knowing that you're not being controlled and manipulated and enslaved. You have freedom. It's power and choice because there's power and freedom. The freedom to choose. Always up to you. The freedom to choose. So having choices can boost your motivation. Yes, yes, yes. It can improve performance. Yes. I am choosing to go out of my training. Let's say you're on a swim team. I am choosing to now to compete for the swim team, and I'm empowered. I feel like I've trained well enough, and so I'm going to go into it and give it my all. How empowering and motivational is that? Motivating is that? You made a decision to do something, so you started training for it. You have to compete to be on this team in this position, and you're going to give it your all in all. You've armed yourself, you're prepared, and you're ready. That is very motivational. Very motivational because it gives you the power of freedom and choice. You're making the choices. You're in the driver's seat. Personal growth. Each choice contributes to personal development and shapes individual experience and outcomes. Said that throughout, and I hope that hit home for some of you. When it comes to choices and personal growth, let this hit home for you. Listen to me if you haven't listened to any of this podcast to this point. Personal growth. Each choice contributes to personal development and shapes individual experiences and outcomes. Shapes individual experiences and outcomes. The more you know, the more you grow. Say that with me. That's going to be our hook for the show today. The more you know, the more you grow. But I'm going to add a plus to that. The more you know, you put it in action, the more you grow. There we go. The more you know, you put it in action, the more you grow. It's a beautiful thing. Choices is a beautiful thing. All right, we're going to move on to question number 4. How might our lives be different if we were more aware of the consequences of our choices before making them? I'm finna go a little bit left. How different would our choices and decisions be if we knew what the consequences would be? If we knew for sure what the consequences would be. If we knew for sure there was a heaven or a hell. Oh, that's a scary thought. There's a lot of people that believe in heaven and hell. And that one belief alone is keeping murderers at bay. It's keeping pedophiles at bay. It's keeping stealers and you name it. If we knew beyond a shadow of a doubt, if someone died and came back and told us that hell was real, oh, we would be some angels walking around here. Do you hear me? Walking the straight and narrow. Your choices and your decisions, you gonna make sure they are in the best interest of other people. You ain't gonna do anything to cause no hurt, harm, or danger to anyone because you do not want to die and go to hell. But unfortunately, don't none of us know that to be real. Don't any of us know it to be true. Because I believe it's a state of mind. And I do believe in karma. The universe is all about balance. The universe is about action and reaction. The yin and the yang, choices and consequences. So whether you believe in a heaven or hell or not, you do wrong to somebody, that same wrong gonna come back to you twofold. That's just how the universe is. You may do something tomorrow. I mean, it's gonna happen the next day to you, but you best believe it's gonna be impactful. And the universe is gonna bring it to your attention. When it does come back to you, it's gonna remind you what you did to deserve it, because it's the energy that you put out. So yeah, absolutely. If we knew the consequences of every decision that we made, beyond a shadow of a doubt, we will be in a position to make the best decision every single time. Every single time. It won't be no thought process into it. You don't have to consider every variable. You don't have to consider every factor. You don't have to be a learned and informed individual because you already know what the consequences are going to be. But what's the fun in that? You can't grow for something like that because you already know what choice to make. Because you can avoid the worst consequence, right? So as I mentioned, there's no empowerment in that. There's no motivation in that. There's no personal growth in that. It's just not. It's the easy way out. You don't have to think about anything. You're not going to have to think about anything. And this is just not how this universe is set up. It's not. It's not. It's about learning, you guys. It's about growth. Empowering yourself with knowledge. All right. We're going to talk about, before I go to question number 5, there's a little bit more information I want to share with you guys when it comes to choices. And we're going to talk about the negative aspects of being overwhelmed with so many choices. Having choices is a beautiful thing. It's empowering, but being overwhelmed with so many of the choices, options, and you don't know which way to go, it causes decision fatigue. How many of you have experienced decision fatigue? You have so many decisions to make, you don't know which way to go, to where it becomes paralyzing. Believe it or not, it happens. It happens. And so decision fatigue is when there's an abundance of choices that can lead to decision. It can lead to decision paralysis, where you don't know whether to make a decision, making it difficult to choose, and ultimately leading to feelings of being overwhelmed and frustrated. But you don't have to be. I'm a very methodical, logical person. And mentally, and you can do this either mentally or on paper. When you're overwhelmed with decision, when you're overwhelmed with decisions and choices to be made, write it out. Write it out on paper. And you just jot out every possible outcome because you don't know what it could be. Just jot it out. Just jot it out. Get it on paper. Get it out your head, because that's what's making you overwhelmed, because you're just churning. Mentally, you're just churning. Write it out on paper, or even shoot it by somebody, your husband, your wife, your children, your whoever, auntie, niece, it doesn't matter. Run these things, run it by them and get their feedback, their input. And then you come back and you just lay it out and you tally up and say, okay, this seems to be the best outcome for me. So that's how you can avoid decision fatigue. Get it out there, get it out your head, and start putting a plan of action together. And don't get paralyzed. Regret and anxiety when you have too many possibilities. The possibility of making the wrong choice can trigger anxiety and regret. Guess what I said? I don't think there's a right When it comes to making choices and decisions in your life, I don't think there's a right or wrong, but I think there's a best and worst. Because all in all, it's about you getting experience from the choices and the decisions that you make. So don't beat yourself up. Don't get bogged down. Don't get caught in a spiral or swirl trying to figure out what's the right decision to make or the wrong one. Just arm yourself with knowledge. Get informed, like I said, about your decisions. As long as your decisions are not going to cause any hurt, harm, or danger to anyone else knowingly, there's no such thing as a right or wrong. I think it's the best or the worst. Either way, you should learn from it. It's about building your experience. All right. So that was just a little bit of the negative aspect of it, but all in all, with everything that I've shared on this podcast today, I think it's beautiful to have choices. It's beautiful to have more than one choice and options. It is a beautiful thing, but it's important to be armed with knowledge and be informed before you make decisions. It really is. And so with that being said, we're going to dissect or ask question number 5. Do you believe that having more choices always leads to better outcome? Or can it sometimes be overwhelming? Well, we already talked about that it can be overwhelming to have too many choices, that you can get paralyzed in it. But I gave it a solution to that. But we're talking about, does having more choices lead to better outcomes? No, it does not. No, it does not. It just means that you have a choice. And as I shared, there's beauty in having choices. It's empowering. It's motivating to be able to have a choice. As back in slavery time, they didn't. They did what they were told, period. Unless, of course, they tried to escape, but we're not talking about that. But having more choices does not mean better outcomes. It just means there's more homework that needs to be done to make the better or best choice for you. That's all that means. There's beauty to have options and choices always. And always seek out options and choices. And before I sign off today, regardless of whatever problem that you may be faced with, whatever choice or decision that you may be faced with, understand there's always a solution. There's always an answer. Don't give up. Don't throw the towel in. Don't take the easy way out, thinking that if you avoid having to make this decision, thinking if you avoid having to make this choice, that it's going to go away. It's not going to go away. It's not. You may move on to something else mentally, get active on something else, but guess what? That choice, the decision to be made is still there, because inaction is still action. You got to take action. Don't shy away from it. And all in all, life is a beautiful thing to be lived. It is. It is a beautiful thing. And for those who always have their heads in the cloud, old rainbows and unicorns and all that, thinking, oh no, nothing ever goes wrong. Yes, it does in this world, in this material world. But that does not mean that life is just so bad it's not worth it. It does not. It just means that the way you view your life, the way you make your choices, your decisions in your life, is going to impact the outcome in your life. And having choices push you in the control seat, in the driver's seat, that even when you're faced with tough times or tough decisions to be made, it's up to you. You're in control. You're in control. And that's what makes life worth living, makes it beautiful. Because if everything is always up and there's, you get numb. I hear, rich people that just, there's nothing that excites them anymore, because they throw their money. They're able to throw their money just about everything and anything. But even in the tough times, and then being able to see yourself work through the solution through the tough times, it's exhilarating. It's motivating. You can look back and say, I did that. I did that. I didn't think I was ready. I didn't think I could do it. I was about to fold. I was about to give in. I was about to say, forget it. Tuck my tail and just, hoping that the boogeyman would go away. No, I faced it head on. I armed myself. I prepared myself. And you can look back and you can pat yourself on the shoulder and say, I did that. I worked through it. I was all right. I came out on the other side all right. It may not turn out exactly the way I did it, But I'm empowered and I'm experiencing this thing enough to know that the next time something come my way, I can pull that out my toolkit and say, okay, you did it that way. Let's do it, let's do it this way again, but let's add a little bit more of this on the side. Let's do this, let's do that. You're in control because you feel empowered, because you done it. You took action. You did not get paralyzed. You did not let your problem, your situation swallow you up. And you can apply that to just about everything that you're faced with in life. Don't fold. Don't fold. Don't fold. Face your choices and your decisions straight head on, because after all, it's all up to you unless you give somebody else control. And we don't want to do that. So thank you very much for joining Straight Up with Deborah Walter on this beautiful, beautiful Sunday. I do hope that you've taken something from this show today and understanding that there's power in choices and that you are in control. Please come back next Sunday and join me for another hot topic. As I like to say, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a counselor. I don't tell anyone how to maneuver, navigate their lives, but I look to share information in my own experience that I pull from the community that may help arm you to make choices and decisions on how to navigate this universe, this multiverse. Thank you again, and see you next time.